Time. What's up, YouTube Live? As always, I have trouble trying to get you guys on here sometimes. I don't know what the glitch is, but sometimes I push go live and it goes dead is what it does. All right, so as always, share this on your page. You can share it on any group page that you're a part of. Get your questions ready. Hello, Tammy. Hello, Rhonda. If you have questions for me to answer, this is Ask Me Anything today, so I'm going to be coming to you guys pretty quick, but I'll go to Instagram first to see who's got something to say over there. But we'll come to you in due course, I promise. So thank you all for being here today, and we're going to get this show on the road, and here we go. It's Ask Me Anything here today on June 12th, 2020. So ask me anything. Watch this on replay on IGTV. Click on that little box down there in the corner and you can go straight to watching Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content, but you gotta go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live in the content, just like all these amazing people coming in right here, right now. Thank you guys for being here today. We're also simulcasting over here on my Facebook page. Thank you guys for being here as well. Finally, all my wonderful people over on YouTube live stream, thank you guys for watching here today. Everybody in the Jimmy Rants family, thank you for being here today. If you missed the live here on Instagram, we do have it on replay for you available on IGTV. Right after the show's over, I put in a few notes, and then bada bing, bada boom, it goes right up onto my Instagram page. We also put the past episodes up over on YouTube. Just type in the keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show. Finally, we have an official website for this show, JimmyRants.com. And once you're there, you can see all the past episodes, 500 plus episodes and counting. And a lot of people have been wanting to support the show. I don't have any sponsors on here. In fact, somebody over on Facebook was like, well, what happened? Did you lose your sponsors? Why'd you lose your sponsors? I mean, no. On this show, I've literally never had sponsors by design. I wanted this to be a free outlet for you guys to have information about all kinds of things that I talk about here. But a lot of you have been saying, hey, we get great value out of the show. How can we pay you back? And so we created a Patreon page there at JimmyRants.com. Just click on that link, and your donation of any amount helps keep this going. So thank you for being here today on Jimmy Rants. But yes, it is Friday, you guys. And on Fridays, I open up the floor to you. So this could either be a very boring show if you ask me no questions whatsoever, or it could be a very engaging show. And I will challenge any of you on any of the three platforms. Ask me something that you think I've never been asked before. Good luck with that, by the way. I've been interviewed thousands of times by people, and I always ask them that question. Ask me a question you think I've never been asked before. So this ought to be interesting. If you think you have a question that I've never been asked about before, fire away. That should be fun. We'll see what happens. But literally anything about keto, fasting, social media, podcasting, book writing, anything about me personally, whatever you want to talk about. So I have a few articles I want to get to, but before I get to these articles and then come to your questions, I have to say something about some of the things I've been writing about the race relation stuff lately. I've got white people who are responding to some of my posts somewhere like with the following words. I don't know why you're bringing up this thing from the far distant past. I don't know why we have to keep bringing up race. Don't you know this is just a conspiracy to keep us divided, and that you're adding to the conspiracy and you're adding to the division by saying all these things, and I think we should just move on and be colorblind and live one happy life as part of the human race. Now, to a white person, that seems so reasonable, doesn't it? Oh, wow, yeah, we should be colorblind. We shouldn't be bringing up race. We need to just live our lives. I'm happy living my life as if nothing is wrong at all. And guess what? For you, it probably isn't. But for our black brothers and sisters, it very much is. And so I think by you saying these seemingly innocuous and things that seem like they're great, you have no idea you're a part of the problem. You have no idea you're perpetuating the very reason so many in the black community are up in arms right now. They think you don't care by having that attitude. And so can I, as the whiter than white Jimmy Moore, implore you to look deeper inside yourself and put yourself in the shoes of a black man or black woman right now, and to see why we need to care about this issue probably now more than ever before, and that lay aside your own biases about what you think the motivation is for this. I get it. I've seen all the things out there that people are saying, well, they're just trying to stir up race division so that they could help to get Donald Trump out of office and da da. Okay, I've seen all that stuff. You know what? None of that matters. None of that matters as much as the human interest story. And the human interest story is black people have been oppressed. And the moment we acknowledge that is the moment we can try to do something about it. So I just had to get that off my chest, that I'm growing weary of my fellow white person having a knee-jerk reaction just because somebody is saying things that's making them feel uncomfortable. And by the way, I'm not letting up. I'm not shutting up. I think this is the issue of our lifetime. And if we don't take advantage of this opportunity right here, right now, when people's hearts seem to have been softened unlike any other time in our history, we need to learn history. Can I tell you, if you want a project over the weekend to work on, go Google some of the atrocities that happened not in the distant past, in the not too distant past. Like as of 50 years ago, black and white people couldn't even get married together. Black and white people couldn't even swim together. So many things about our culture that I think we've conveniently forgot in the information age, with information and images all at our fingertips online, and we pretend like the atrocities of our recent past did not happen. Yeah, I'm fired up, and I think you should be too. And I think it behooves all of us to get better educated and to understand things not just from our own perspective, but from the perspective of others who feel oppressed and feel like there's been injustices towards them. All right, that's all I'm saying about that right now. I am talking more about it on my pages and in future Jimmy Rants, but that's all I'll say for right now. If you just joined us, we're doing an Ask Me Anything, so get your questions ready. Write them right down there, and ask your questions literally about anything you want to ask about, and we'll get to those here in just a moment. But I wanted to bring you a few quick little notes. This first one was really interesting because there is some skeevy things happening behind the scenes. We always say, you know, the press doesn't always look like they're unbiased, and they're not, by the way. And we just found out in this story that the Guardian newspaper, which is over in the UK, had basically an agreement with this entity called Open Philanthropy Project. And what they looked for was a grant from this project, the Guardian, to print editorial content about animal rights. And so the OPP, the Open Philanthropy Project, paid the Guardian $886,600 to publish a series entitled Animals Farmed. And what it was a steady stream of articles that painted animal agriculture as inhumane, unhealthy, and dangerous to the environment. And then you get later in the story and you realize that some of the leaders of the OPP are investors in Impossible Foods, one of the plant-based burger companies. And so as much as we don't want to believe that the press can be bought, the press got bought in the UK. And the thing is, they admitted it. They're like, yeah, we got those funds. And newspapers especially are struggling to find ways to stay relevant because newspapers have become highly irrelevant in the internet age. And so they took this almost $1 million to write this series of propaganda pieces that benefited Impossible Foods. That happened, guys. I thought you'd want to know. COVID-19. We're still feeling the effects of that. Now, a lot of places have opened back up, but one of the things that has come out of COVID-19 is child abuse was really running rampant in the midst of that. We want to pretend like this is a dirty part of our society and we don't really want to know all the things that are happening behind closed doors, but child abuse actually increased pretty bad, domestic disturbance in general, all because of some of the mental anguish and things. And so this is a statistic that showed the number of people that were affected, who does these things to them. But the coronavirus actually is showing that there's been 15 times more layoffs. So there's a lot more people at home with some financial difficulties and tensions are high, and it's causing more and more problems. Some of the child line calls have increased, and we've been seeing that this is a real problem. I don't think we need to discount the role of the stress of everything that's been happening with COVID-19 and how it's having reverberations all through our culture and all those poor kids that get abused. And so if you have someone in your life that you know might have lost their job or has like an unstable relationship with their kids at home, try to check in on them, because I feel like, and teen suicide has corresponded with this, has gone up as well. So it's a sad situation. And again, it's a part of our culture that we don't want to look at, but it's there, you guys. And I will remind you too, and I brought this up a couple weeks ago on Jimmy Rants, there is this trend among teenagers especially, that when their life gets tough and they're stressed out, they cut themselves, cut their leg, cut their arm, cut parts of their body, not trying to kill themselves, but just having cuts on the body. And like, that's heavy stuff when you start hearing about self-mutilation, all because life is too much to handle. So just know that COVID-19 has exacerbated that problem, and so let's be caring and mindful of all those people. Finally, and then we're going to come to your questions. So again, get your questions ready for Jimmy Rants Ask Me Anything. Asymptomatic spread of coronavirus is very rare, according to the World Health Organization. So they put out this press release this week that said, you know, we've been telling you wear a mask because if you're asymptomatic, you could spread it on and you would never know, and they would never know, and da-da-da. Well, now they're saying, oh, it's kind of rare. The funny part is they put out this press release, and the next day, I guess they got so many people reacting that they're like, well, we didn't mean it never happened, but we think that maybe we should sort of kind of tell you to wear a mask while not telling you to wear a mask because we don't know what the hell we're talking about. You ever get the idea that that's been the news cycle the last few months? Let's just tell them something, and then let's tell them the opposite of something so they don't know what to believe. Sound familiar? We've seen that in the health space for so many years. Coffee will boost your metabolism. No, coffee will raise your insulin and hurt your metabolism. No, meat is healthy. No, meat is unhealthy. And it just, you kind of go back and forth. And so we're seeing that same thing play out with this COVID-19 thing. So the best advice I could give you about COVID-19 is trust your own good common sense judgment. I mean, they're going to tell us both sides of things, to both be worried about asymptomatic carriers and wear a mask and da-da-da, and not be worried at the same time. Yeah, I think they have lost our trust in them. And I, for one, am no longer trusting anything I hear about this. All right, let's see. I got a few questions that came in beforehand, so let's get to those. And this was the first question. Lap band surgery, I regret it, was done in 2004, 16 years ago. I struggle with eating enough with keto and carnivore. So thank you, Kelly, for that question. If you've had lap band surgery or any kind of weight loss surgery where your stomach size is smaller or your ability to eat a lot of food at one time has been hindered, the best thing that you can do is to focus on protein and fat and in smaller quantities for you while eating more often. So typically a keto carnivore type of person, I would say try to make 1 to 2 meals a day your goal, have enough calories in those meals so that you're not under eating calories. So for you, you physically can't eat very much food at one time. So that behooves you to probably aim for about 5 meals a day. So if you get 5 meals that consist of about 300 to 400 calories each, and then spread them out throughout the day, that's probably going to be ideal for someone like yourself. So yes, I know you're regretting it. No, there's nothing you can do about it. 16 years you've been living with this, but you struggle with eating enough. This is where you have to space it out. What that means is you wake up in the morning at 7 a.m., like as soon as you get out of bed, you should be out trying to eat something. And then somewhere around, if you eat at 7 a.m., somewhere around like 10 a.m., eat again. Then somewhere around 1 p.m., eat again. Then somewhere around 4 p.m., eat again. And then 7 p.m., eat again. And if you space it out like that, you should be able to get 300 to 400 calories worth of an animal-based food if you're trying to be carnivore. And I would say focus on nutrient density in the foods that you do eat and make sure you get an adequate amount of protein and fat. Ideally for someone like yourself, a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning 1 gram of fat for every 1 gram of protein. And of course, minimal carbohydrate. If you're doing animal-based foods, then that's easy to do. And so try that, see how you do. If you do 300 to 400 calories at a time, I can't imagine if you ate every few hours why you couldn't get in adequate calories for the day. But thank you for that question. Had another question come in, this one from Brandy. What's more important for weight loss? Is it a higher protein intake or a higher fat macro intake? All right, Brandy, you're trying to get me in trouble here today is what you're doing, because this is like the topic du jour in the keto space over the past few years. And let me tell you my personal philosophy. I think if you do better eating more protein, then by all means eat more protein. If you do better eating more fat, then by all means eat more fat. I think we try to make this an either or proposition, to which I say, why can't it be situational? Why can't it be that in this case for this person, their bio-individuality requires them to eat more fat? And I've heard from many people that said they tried eating more protein and they got hungry, they got more gluconeogenesis start to happen where their blood sugar got impacted, In fact, just this week I did an experiment that I posted on my social media pages where I'm still wearing the Freestyle Libre blood sugar meter, and I decided, okay, let me do like a chicken breast meal, about a pound of chicken, rotisserie chicken breast, and then let's see what happens to my blood sugar. Well, instead of my blood sugar spiking, what happened was I saw hypoglycemia kick in. I started getting lower blood sugar, and it stayed low for much of the first 2 hours, and finally about 2.5 hours in, it got close to baseline again. But I was starving, I was shaky, I had feelings of like spaciness. It was really bad. And what that tells me is I tend to do better with a little more fat in my diet than I do a little more protein. Now, let's be honest. As a percentage of calories, everybody that eats keto eats high fat, okay? Even the person that eats, they think the most high protein possible on a ketogenic diet, you're still getting about 55 to 60% fat. So let's not pretend like even the keto gains guys who push, carb is a limit, fat is a lever, protein is a goal. That's their little mantra. Well, even with their goal being protein, and they're getting even the biggest bodybuilder getting all the protein that they consume, even they are still eating a high fat diet. So let's not confuse terms. I think as a percentage, everybody that's eating keto is eating a high fat diet. High meaning 50% or more of your calories. But on an individual basis, figure out if you need more protein. I know people like Ted Naiman talk about getting as much as 30% of your diet in protein. Some people can't handle that. Some people need about 15 to 20% protein. So your mileage may vary. See what works for you. But Brandy, thank you for that question. I think I stayed out of trouble with my answer. Not that I care about trouble. I always speak the truth, but thank you for that. All right, let me come to your questions now. Instagram, let's see what you got. JimmyRants.com, by the way, is the website. Just Dan says, this is a first for me. Hello, you've been inspiring to me during my work hours. Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you being here. Ask your questions. All right. I've been listening to you and I'm considering becoming a nutritional therapy practitioner. I'm not amazing at fighting temptation right now. How can I help people when I struggle? Oh, no. That's the wrong way to look at it. You help people because you struggle. Like a lot of people, they write to me and they're like, I'm glad you still have weight on your body. I'm like, thank you. But what they're saying is, if somebody like myself who has been educated for many years about all the ins and outs of nutritional health, if I still deal with weight, it gives them hope that, okay, maybe I can make myself healthy. And while I may not look the part, I can still be educated. I can still make my health great. I can still help other people. And I've had many people say, you're just so relatable because you look and sound like me. You're more educated than me, but you look and sound like me, so I see a piece of myself in you. And Dan, I could say that for yourself. Like, you know what? When you're talking to a client and talking about digestion and talking about nutrient density and you could say, hey, look, temptation, I'm your girl. I know what temptation feels like. It sucks. But here's the strategies that I've figured out how to overcome those temptations. I ate a little more fat. I made sure that when I got tempted by food, I did this, this, and this. Do you see how powerful that is? And I think people underestimate being someone in the health space. They think, oh, you have to have everything figured out. You have to be perfect in your diet always. You have to be the model citizen of all things. Can I tell you, those are the people I don't follow, with all due respect. Because if you look like you've got it all figured out and you never tell me you struggled, how do I ever relate to you? And so that relatability, don't deny that, Danson. I think that's your end. That's what you want people to see. So hope that helped you out. What do you think about a protein shake to break your fast, says Daniel. Yeah, I mean, really anything can help break your fast as long as you go slow, as I was talking about last week when we were doing a lot of videos on fasting. I think a protein shake could work. I do think that you need like a healthy mix of protein and fat. So I love the Keto Chow shakes because they have that 1-to-1 ratio we were just talking about with fat to protein. So get a higher fat kind of content protein shake, and I think it's probably a good thing to do. But really anything can break a fast. But yeah, if you want to use a protein shake, go for it. I would say it's probably a better, not one to actually break the fast with your meal. Don't have that as your meal, but to have that as the little something. Remember, you're supposed to eat a little bit of something to get the blood flowing back to your stomach again. I think a protein shake, a Keto Chow shake, something like that, could definitely be helpful in that role. And then 1 hour later, have your normal meal. Low Carb New Yorker, no questions, just some love your way. Looking good. Miss seeing you in the car as I'm no longer commuting. I'm teaching from home now. Yeah. And I got a Jimmy Rants studio. I used to do Jimmy Rants inside my car quite a bit. But now I have a fancy studio that I do this from. So nice lighting and everything. In fact, I don't normally turn the camera around. I'll show the Instagram, but this is the light that shines right on my face doing these Jimmy Rants. What did those cost me, like 80 bucks? The funny part is the bulb alone is like $70 for those really bright lights on me, but it looks good on camera. You still got my mug to look at, but thank you for that, Low Carb New Yorker. Welcome Home Farm says calories in weight loss. If your diet is good and healthy, does the number of calories count? Isn't that the old calories in, calories out? Great question. And this is the question that will never die. Everybody's like, oh, you want to lose weight? You got to cut calories. Okay, I think it's a little more nuanced than calories. I think people get stuck on calories because that's what's been rammed down our throats for so long, that it's all about a calorie equation. I want to flip the script on that. I think what we need to do is pay attention to what's happening to our hormones. And so if you eat to your hormones, then you're able to eat to satiety. You're able to see what actually happens to the various biomarkers, which is why I'm a big fan of like blowing into a ketone meter like the BioSense. I'm a big fan of testing your blood sugar like I'm doing with the Freestyle Libre. Big fan of just watching how you're doing. So if you're trying to lose weight and that's your primary goal, you just have to know that it's more than just about your nutrition. And I've harped on this quite a bit before, all the various ways that your weight can be impacted, not the least of which is your stress levels, your sleep, exercise, what you're doing as far as the kinds of exercise, so many factors involved. And the moment we try to pretend like it's all about what you're putting in your mouth versus what you're expending at the gym, I think you miss the forest for the trees. And you can't deny that past choices also play an impact. So I think we try to simplify it because it makes our brains feel better, but I think this whole idea of weight loss gets convoluted by all these extra things that then people are like, well, you're eating too many calories. Okay, I'm down to 1,400. What is too many? Oh, well, you're just still eating too many. You should cut them more. Okay, when you cut them more, your basal metabolic rate slows down. So then what? Well, you need to cut them more. So what, do I keep cutting as my basal metabolic rate goes down? So I've come to the conclusion this whole weight loss thing should not be your primary goal. Your primary goal should be getting healthy. And if you're healthy, and if your body is operating the way it's supposed to, and if you calm down all of the hormonal things going on in your body, then a nice side effect of that should be weight loss. But don't make it your goal. Now, people criticize me, well, it's convenient for you to say, you fat ass. So you hear those kinds of things and they're like, okay, you should make weight loss your goal. To which I say, okay, that's your goal for me. My goal for me is to be healthy. Does it mean I don't want to lose weight? Obviously not. I would. Does it mean I obsess about it to the point that I stress myself out? Which, oh yeah, by the way, makes it hard to lose weight? No, I stopped doing that many years ago. All right, thank you, Instagram. Let me pop over here to my Facebook page. What's up, guys? See what you guys have to say, what kind of questions you have for this Ask Me Anything. By the way, keep the questions rolling. We have another half an hour here on Jimmy Rants. Rhonda says, why do we see you eat so much beef but not pork? It's just a personal preference thing. I'm not a big pork fan. I'm not anti-pork. I like bacon. I'll eat the occasional pork chop, but I just love beef. But there's nothing wrong with pork if that's the insinuation in the question, Rhonda. And there's nothing wrong. And I have had chicken lately. I had a little bit of turkey the other day. I'm trying to mix it up. And so, no, it's just personal preference more than anything. Kira says, do you think taking THC gummies helps a person work out harder or longer doing weight training or HIIT? THC gummies, is that like the CBD THC? Is that what we're talking about? Can I have some? I'm just kidding. Helps a person work out harder or longer. Well, I know CBD in general is an anti-inflammatory, and so I would assume if inflammation is being controlled, you could probably work out harder and longer. But I don't know, to be honest with you. I've never actually tried THC gummies. You can send me some, Kira, if you want to. I don't know is the answer. Tracy says, what is refeeding syndrome? Great question. So This is in the context of fasting. So when you have done an extended fast, like a lot of people did last week, we did a 7-day fast. When you end the fast, if you went straight into eating a whole lot of food really fast, then that could trigger this condition that you're describing here called refeeding syndrome. So basically, it's where you eat so much food so fast and your body was not ready for it that you start to have trouble, and it starts to cause pain. And it's actually very dangerous. This is something we wrote about in my book, The Complete Guide to Fasting, is beware when you break your fast that you don't break it too fast with a lot of food. So to prevent refeeding syndrome, that's why we say have a little something about an hour before you eat. And then when you do start eating, eat gentle food so you slowly get back into it. Some people get themselves a big old porterhouse steak, 16-ounce porterhouse steak, and try to eat that as their first meal after not eating any food for a week, and their body will revolt on them. So it's not a good thing, Tracy. Nancy says, second month of carnivore, feeling great. No measuring, love my life. Well, that's great. Keep it going. Thank you for sharing your testimony. Michelle says, any suggestions for a nutrition consultant certification for an RN that won't bankrupt me? Well, Michelle, I do think there's a lot of options out there. I can tell you, it depends on what kind of area you want to specialize in. If you want to specialize in like ketogenic nutrition, there's several kind of certifications out there. I know Dr. Ryan Lowry and his group have one. Maria Emmerich has one. So if you want to like specialize in keto, that's one area. If you want to specialize kind of in a general like healthy real food approach, that's where groups like the Nutritional Therapy Association and other ones out there. I can tell you the NTA only because I'm familiar with them. It's about $5,000 to kind of go through the program, and there's some associated fees with books and travel and all this kind of stuff. But the good news is you get done in 9 months, and so you get it pretty quick. Sometimes if you go into one of these like college level nutrition courses, it could be upwards of 2 years to get the degree. So I guess it just depends on what your goal is of what you're trying to do. But if you're already an RN, you probably have some basic knowledge about a lot of the physiology of things. What you need is just the hard knowledge of what to do for nutrient density, what to do for digestion, and what kinds of foods do this, and how to get the various nutrients in your body. So I think the NTA would be a great one. Nutritionaltherapy.org or .com, I forget what it is, but look it up, Nutritional Therapy Association. I think they're probably going to be your best bet. But like I said, there's lots of them out there. Just kind of do your research, ask around, look on Facebook and Instagram of people that have these certifications and ask them what their experience is. Judy says, if I eat chicken, I get so hungry and I end up overeating. Well, that's the problem. Chicken has specific amino acids in them that are what's called insulinogenic. And it's the specific insulinogenic amino acids that are in chicken that cause me to have hypoglycemia. And again, this is not true for everybody. Some people perfectly digest those amino acids that are in chicken. But for me, the reason my blood sugar went down and stayed down and gave me all those symptoms was because my body reacts with more insulin. And the reason that becomes problematic in the context of eating it on your ketogenic diet is you're barely giving yourself any kind of carbs, so your glucose is not going up. So if you have an insulin response and you don't have glucose going up because you're not eating carbs, you're going to see your blood sugar drop and all the things that come with hypoglycemia. So not a good state to be in. It could definitely be problematic. I can tell you within like 45 minutes to an hour the other day when I was doing my experiment with the pound of chicken, you would think a pound of chicken would keep me full. Within 45 minutes, I was starving and I was feeling woozy. I had to sit over here on this couch for most of the duration of that experiment because it was just not good for my body. And I felt every single bit of that. So I'm not surprised that you get hungry. And what it does too is it makes you want to eat other things and maybe gives you cravings for things you don't want to be consuming. So just keep that in mind, and thank you for sharing your experience, Judy. All right, thank you, Facebook. Let me pop over to my YouTube channel, see what kind of questions they have. Shirley says, if you have a sports injury, how would fasting affect it? Does it help promote healing, or should you not fast during the healing? No. I think you've got to look at fasting as just an accelerated form of nutritional ketosis, because you're creating ketones, you're lowering insulin, you're lowering inflammation, you're doing, and you're boosting growth hormone. You're doing all these really good things for your body that would boost the healing. So no, if you have a sports injury and you want to do periods of fasting, I think it would actually be very, very healing as part of that process. Teresa says, been following you since 2008. Want to say thank you for your pioneering efforts in low carb. I was 260 pounds when I started following you, and now I'm 160. Wow. That is so awesome. It's a journey, not a race. Yeah, well, you're winning. You're winning that race. Bondi says, do you count calories with a low carb diet? Yeah, we kind of answered that one a while ago with a question over here. But calories is not the be all end all. Can you overconsume calories? Obviously, if you blow by satiety, I think you can. But I think we need to be paying more attention to the metabolic effects of the food we're eating, to the hormonal effects. I think we get so caught up in calories because that's the vernacular in the health space. Well, this thing has 500 calories. And I'm like, okay, I'm less interested in the calories than I am the macronutrient makeup and how those macronutrients and the ingredients that are in them that make them up comprise that thing you're about to consume. Because I can say, oh, I had 500 calories for lunch. Do you have any idea what I ate? No. You don't know if I had a whole grain bagel with fat-free cream cheese and an apple, or if I had 5 ounces of steak. You have no idea what 500 calories means when I just say I had 500 calories. So when people start saying, well, I've only had X number of calories, I'm like, I don't care. How many carbs did you eat? How much protein did you eat? How much fat did you eat? What comprised the food? What was the food? Like yesterday, I went to see my tax guy. This is a funny story. He's got, ulcerative colitis. And he's like, man, my stomach's killing me. I'm like, well, what did the doctor say? He said, oh, I need to be eating very often, lots of carbs at like 4, 5, 6 meals a day. And he knows what I do for a living because he does my taxes. And he said, yeah, I just don't understand why I'm in such pain. I was like, all right, tell me what you had for breakfast. He said, well, this morning I had 1 egg. I said, okay, that's good. You need a few more eggs, but 1 egg. What else? 2 slices of toast. Okay, now we're starting to get to the problem. And applesauce on top of the toast. Oh, okay, now I'm seeing why your stomach hurts you. I said, you realize that's a very high carb meal you had, right? Oh, yeah, but the doctor said, I said, do you realize that doctor that's giving you nutrition advice has no training in nutrition? Like nil. Really? Oh, wow, I just thought they knew everything about health. Yeah, everybody does. I said, have you thought about, instead of 1 egg, 2 slices of toast, and he bragged about having white toast and not wheat toast because he heard whole wheat was worse than white. And then the applesauce. I said, instead of those things, how about having, 3 eggs cooked in butter? He's like, wow, that's it? I said, yeah, is that hard? No, I like that. Will it get me out of pain? I said, probably not right away, but why don't you do what's called the carnivore diet? So I started telling him about eating a mostly animal-based foods. I said, because he said, everything I eat makes my stomach hurt. I said, you know what's making the stomach hurt is your grain consumption, which is even in the white bread, and your sugar consumption. Those things are exacerbating that issue you're dealing with. And he was telling me about some of the drugs he's on and some of the anti-inflammatories and all this. I said, why don't you eat an anti-inflammatory diet? Why don't you try the carnivore diet? So he started looking it up. Oh, wow, I love oh, wow. And he was just like excited. And I said, and he was asking me about probiotics. And I said, you could add little bit of sauerkraut, maybe a little bit of full-fat, unsweetened yogurt. And then I said, have you ever had bone broth? He'd never heard of bone broth before. I said, not Swanson's, not that stock stuff you see in the grocery store, but actual bone broth. So I gave him a few brands to look up, and oh wow, I never heard of bone broth. So it's like all of these things we take for granted, a lot of people don't have any idea. And so for him, it's not about calories. For him, it's about getting things that won't exacerbate. Now, he's a large man and will definitely lose weight if he starts eating this way. But for him, the goal is to get out of pain and to get this ulcerative colitis under control. So Goyal says, could you please tell me what can be an option for hardcore gym training with keto? Well, pretty much anything you want to do. I am a big fan. I don't know what you mean by hardcore gym training. I'm a big fan of flipping a tractor tire if you can get your hands on one. I've got one in my side yard over here. And so you could do that, and you could do it as a HIIT training. That would be really good. You kind of mix a little bit of cardio with the strength training by lifting a very heavy, that one there's probably 200 pounds, tire. And if you go to a traditional gym, you could definitely do circuit training with resistance training, so lifting heavy weights. Yeah, just whatever makes you happy. But I think the goal is set some kind of a schedule and then stick to it, and you'll see results over time. Thank you, YouTube. Gonna go back over to my Instagram page, see what you guys have to say. Got any more questions for me? Dansum says, have you ever went into self-sabotage after either completing your first keto goal? If so, how did you get over it? Self-sabotage. Give me a little more information. Are you saying that did I binge on carbs? Have you ever went into self-sabotage after completing your first or definite keto goal? So like if I hit a weight loss goal, did I say, okay, I worked hard to get to this goal, so therefore I deserve to treat myself, therefore, I would think if you got to the point where you reached a goal on your keto and your first inclination was to binge, you have not transitioned your brain yet. And this is an important concept for any of you that are on your journey right now, or you get to that point where you feel like you're about to hit a goal and you're tempted, as Dansum here has talked about, to self-sabotage by having some kind of a carb binge. Can I tell you, by the time I got to a goal, I had learned good habits. I had learned what those things had done to me. And so for me personally, no. But I do know that mindset. Well, I've earned this. I'll even hear this from people. I stay keto all during the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so I've earned the right on the weekend to have whatever I want all weekend long. Do you know people like that in your life? I know a bunch of people like that. And what they fail to recognize is, okay, if you have to be good all week to get to the earning of having crap on the weekends, have you really changed your mindset? Have we really shifted away from the old habits? Because I think as long as you keep that mentality that you need those other things in your life, you're never fully going to change. Imagine an alcoholic saying, I didn't have any alcohol Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, but on Saturday and Sunday, I drank all get out. Do we consider that person still an alcoholic? You bet we do. Why don't we think the same way about people who eat junk on the weekends when they're good all week? And I think we need to recognize that it's an addiction. We need to recognize that that addiction requires full abstinence, and that might take years to overcome. And so let's not pretend like because you reach some arbitrary weight loss goal or some other goal with your pursuing keto that you've made it, that you've arrived. I'd say once you hit your goal is the first day of the rest of your life. And you need to kind of realize, okay, it took a lot to get to this point. I'm very proud of what I did to get to this point, but now the work begins. And I think those people who feel like they need to treat themselves with garbage, they have not learned the lesson of why they went keto to begin with. What do you say to people that still count calories? Well, if they want to count calories, sports medicine, by all means. I have no problem with someone who wants to count calories and they think they're getting benefit out of it. What I don't like is the assumption that if you still have weight on the body, if you still have work to go, on your goals, that people say, well, you're eating too many calories. To those people, I say, okay, show me exactly how many calories are in various foods. The problem is the calorie counts on foods, they're not accurate. And then who's to say that calorie count, and here's a little analogy that I give, by the way, sports medicine, to those people that say it's all about calories. I'm like, all right, I want you to do an experiment. I want you to eat 1,500 calories of Doritos, Ding Dongs, Ho-Hos, fast food, and soda. Okay? I want you to eat just that every single day for a week. Then I want you to eat just 1,500 calories of ribeye steak. That's all you can have. 1,500 calories, ribeye steak every day for a week. Measure blood sugar, measure insulin, measure all the things you want to measure. And then come back to me and subjective things about hunger and how you feel and blah, blah, blah. Come back to me and tell me the difference between those two 1,500 calorie styles of eating. Because according to the calorie hypothesis, they should be 100% identical. No difference whatsoever. So if someone wants to say it's about counting calories, then they should be very happy about doing that experiment and reporting back what they find. Most people will say, well, why would I do that? It's all about the calories. Okay, you want to prove your point, do my experiment. Most people won't. Jack says, I'm considering the NTA program this fall. Yeah, it's a pretty good one. Like I said, there's other ones out there that I think are pretty good as well, but I'm familiar with the NTA, so that's why I can talk about that one pretty good. How do you plan keto family meals and still meet the macros of everyone involved? My husband started in January and I did last September. Very stressful. Well, don't make it stressful. And plus, I wouldn't make it about the macros. I get it. Maybe your husband requires a little more protein. Maybe you require a little more fat. That's where you individualize it at the meal level. So you have the same basic protein, the same basic vegetables, the same basic everything. And then if you need a little more fat, guess what? You put a little butter on top of your vegetables and your meat. And that's how you meet your macros if that's what you're doing. And if he needs a little more protein, you give him an extra portion of the meat. I don't think it needs to be stressful at all. It's only stressful because you're allowing it to be stressful. Plan ahead a little bit. I think it'll help you. Kat says, in my experience, fasting after sports injury will help you recover quickly, you recover fully, and it's just amazing. So there you go. The person that asked about fasting during a sports injury. Sports medicine also says fasting is awesome for treating muscle injuries. I am an orthopedic surgeon. Well, thank you for your input. Jillian says, I'm trying to get my husband that has ulcerative colitis to eat this way too. Jillian, if he complains about the stomach pain like my tax guy did, tell him, the thing that's exacerbating that pain, and it's a gut health issue, is the grains and the sugars. That's what's inflaming and causing all that pain. Take away the grains and the sugar, focus on mostly kind of animal-based foods, and watch the magic happen. Dansome says, seems like I fought my way to better health, treated myself with keto options, but found myself slipping, backsliding into bad habits. And don't beat yourself up about that. I think we are our greatest critics. We are the ones that come down the hardest on ourselves. And especially those of us that are type A personalities, perfectionists. We tend to think, okay, I got this all figured out. And then when these feelings come back, you kind of go, well, wait a minute. I thought I had this figured out. I've seen success. Why am I feeling like I want a chocolate chip cookie again? be graceful to yourself, be kind to yourself. I think sometimes we forget that we've overcome those urges, but the urges are still there. It's kind of like when you have an addiction, you don't ever really ever get rid of the addiction. The addiction's still there. You've just learned how to control it. And so something in your life is triggering that addiction again. And of course, the last few months, we've had some stress between COVID-19 and being cooped up in our houses, the race relations stuff lately. All of that could be adding stress, and even just your own individual stress in your family. Just be aware of that might be what's stoking this in your life. But be graceful to yourself. Try to practice some self-love and meditation and stress relieving kinds of things, and see if that helps you out. All right, I know I saw another comment come in over on YouTube, so let me pop back over there. Winona says, I just started carnivore. I have so much inflammation. I'm a type 2 diabetic. I'm trying to heal my body. Is eating cottage cheese possible on carnivore? I don't like any other cheeses. Yeah, but to me, cottage cheese reminds me of my mama being on a low-fat diet in the 1980s. She used to put cottage cheese on top of her peaches. And so I always associate cottage cheese with a low-fat diet, unfortunately. And that would be the other thing. It's very high in protein, cottage cheese, and not so much in fat. So if you can try to find some hard cheeses, that tends to be the best kind of cheese. Shirley says, I eat cottage cheese on my carnivore. Good Cultures is my favorite brand. It has the best ingredients. Okay, there you go. Like I said, I don't eat it because low-fat diet, mama. Dear Raj says, how to burn that last 15% body fat. I started from 30 and I started my keto on April 1st, 2020. Now losing weight seems to be getting slow. Well, slow weight loss, and you started a couple months ago, it's supposed to be slow right now. I don't know what you mean by slow. Maybe at first you lost somewhere around 4 to 5 pounds a week. Now you're only losing 1 to 2 pounds a week. No, that's normal. I don't know why in our culture we think weight loss has to be this like Speedy Gonzalez thing. Like to me, I would think, okay, when you first initially start, you're going to lose a substantial amount and that you're going to slow down. That just seems logical when you stop and think about it. And of course, you know why you lose a lot when you first start keto or carnivore. You're dumping glycogen stores because you're not eating sugar, and stored sugar in your muscles all throughout your body gets dumped. Well, the sugar is stored up in water, so that water gets dumped. It's why you pee a lot. It's why you might have to poop a lot and diarrhea but a lot when you first start on a ketogenic diet. That's the body dumping all that excess water. So obviously that water is heavy and it's going to get dumped. It's going to show up on the scale as weight loss. But then once that glycogen is dumped and your body's kind of in the mode of fat burning and you become keto adapted, then the weight loss you see on the scale tends to be fat loss, okay? So people like freak out. Oh my gosh, I lost 4 to 5 pounds a week. The first time I started keto, I was losing 4 to 5 pounds a week for the first 2 or 3 weeks. And then it stopped entirely and I'm only losing 1 to 2 pounds. I'm like, it didn't stop if you're still losing 1 to 2 pounds. And here's something too, if you're obsessing about your weight on a week-to-week basis, and especially those of you that do it on a day-to-day basis, just know that your weight can fluctuate, and this is shocking for people, but get ready, this is true. I talked and interviewed a gentleman in the research realm for keto. His name is Dr. Steve Finney. That's him up on the wall back there. He said your weight can fluctuate as much as 5 pounds up or down at any given moment. So let's say you weigh 230 pounds, you guys. Let's say you weigh 230. If you step on the scale tomorrow at 235, you didn't gain anything. Statistically, it's the same weight. If you step on the scale tomorrow at 225, you didn't lose any weight. Statistically, you didn't lose weight. That's the way you need to look at it. This is why stepping on a scale daily is stupid. Step on a scale about once every 4 to 6 weeks if you have to. And I know I just gave an aneurysm to several people that like to weigh themselves daily. But when you weigh yourself consistently every single day, you're just giving yourself a neurosis. Why would you do that? Instead, focus on what you're doing. Focus on what's important. And what's important is, what are you putting in your mouth? How do you feel? How are you sleeping? How are you keeping your stress under control? All of those things are far more important for you to be focusing your energy on than whatever your weight is doing up, down, or in between. Okay? So just know that. Know that when you start, it's not going to be about losing a lot of weight and only losing 1 to 2 pounds. 1 to 2 pounds is good. That's kind of what you're shooting for as a goal. All right, see if there's any last minute questions in these last few seconds, and I don't see any. So guys, thank you. Thank you for being here on this Ask Me Anything. I always love Fridays. I love opening up the floor to you guys to ask anything. Literally nobody asked me anything I haven't been asked before. So I did ask you to ask a question I've never been asked before. And no personal questions this week. That was cool. But I always welcome those. So please feel free to do that. But yeah, so I'm going to probably take the weekend off this weekend. I know sometimes I do like to do ones on the weekend, but I haven't really taken a few days off of here in a bit. So I'm going to do that this weekend. Chill out. It's been kind of a stressful last few weeks, as you guys well know. And so I think it's good to take some me time every once in a while. Self-care means you love yourself, means you want to make sure you're doing good. So I am going to take the weekend off. I will be back on Monday. So thank you guys so much for watching Jimmy Rants. And as always, you can join me right here on Instagram. You have to follow me at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live. Go check out my page. I do lots of things on my stories that I don't post anywhere else. So definitely check me out over on Instagram. We also simulcast live over here on my Facebook page as well as on my YouTube stream. So thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live though, you should come here on live. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. We sometimes do 5 p.m. Eastern, sometime on the weekend, but always 11 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. So check us out. But you can watch it on IGTV on replay, so go check that out. We also put the past episodes up over on YouTube. Type in the keyword Jimmy Rants, you will find the show. We also put the audio version, kind of a best of Jimmy Rants, on my Living La Vida Low Carb Show podcast. So that airs on Tuesdays, you guys, at llvlc.com. This past week, I posted a couple of the ones about the race relations things as my Tuesday podcast on the Living La Vida Low Carb Show. So that's every Tuesday. I do kind of the best of Jimmy Rants in audio format there. Then finally, jimmyrants.com is the official website. You can see all of the past episodes. You can see all the past episodes up over there. And then we do have a Patreon page that if you want to support the work we're doing here, keep me on the air, go click on that Patreon, and whatever gift you can donate would definitely be greatly appreciated. All right, guys, that's it for now. Have a great weekend, and until Monday, we'll see you then. All right, we are done. All right, all saved. Dean Dwyer, man, I haven't seen you in forever, man. Dean, you guys, has one of the most energetic personalities you'll ever meet. Like, you guys think I'm energetic? Dean puts me to shame. Dude, he knows how to light up a room, and he's got enthusiasm, and it's just, you've always been a good mindset person, Dean. It's one reason I've always admired you. He has a book called Make Shift Happen, except the F was almost like absent, so it looked like make, you know what, happen. But I never forgot that book, Dean. That's how impactful it was. So thank you for all your work. But yeah, guys, I'm going to probably take the weekend off and try to do a little catch-up time on some, my emails are hopelessly behind. So I always try to leave those until I make time. And so this weekend is me making time. I got to get out there and mow my grass now. So as soon as I sign off and post these things all over the place, I will be going out and pushing the lawnmower. I enjoy that because when I'm pushing the lawnmower, it's such a monotonous task that I don't even like think about it, I'm just doing it, that's when I do my most thinking. So when I'm thinking of ideas, generally it's when I'm mowing the grass out there under the sun and just the smell of cut grass. So Michelle says, have a peaceful weekend. Thank you, I will, Michelle. I try to have a good time. Dean Dwyer. You're very welcome, Dean. I appreciate you, man. We got to reconnect, Dean. You and I have some philosophical things that we need to bring joy to the world out there on my podcast. I would love to have you back. DM me, my brother, because we need to get you back on the air again. All right, guys, let me pop off of here for now. My tall grass, my tall weeds await me. But thank you for being here. We'll see you again soon. Bye. Bye, YouTube.